Hello everybody and welcome to the Artists First World Radio Network, home of the best new music you've never heard, and home of the best new talk shows you need to hear. Please don't forget to visit our archives page at www.artistsfirst.com, where you can hear all our past shows for free and on demand. You were tuning into High School Football America. This show airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information about this show and listen to past shows for free, please visit artistfirst.com/jefffisher.htm. And don't forget to follow Artists First on Twitter. You can find us under the Twitter handle at artist_first. And now on to the show.
Good evening, high school football fans. This is High School Football America for May the 31st. I'm Jeff Fisher, host of the show and founder and editor-in-chief of High School Football America and highschoolfootballamerica.com. Glad you're with us tonight on the Artists First Radio Network. Very excited as we move closer and closer to our big announcement that we're going to make in a couple of weeks, as High School Football America is going to enter the Southern California market in a big way, and should make all you high school football fans, players, coaches in the Southern Cal area very excited, as you're going to have a new and a big way to get all of your high school football news and basketball news, and that'll be all part of the announcement we're going to make coming up here in a couple of weeks. We are redesigning the website, so if you go to highschoolfootballamerica.com right now, you'll notice a lot of it's disabled, but don't fret, we still have your news coming out via the blogs and Twitter and all of our social media. If you want to join the family of High School Football America, just go to highschoolfootballamerica.com. We have all the links there for you for Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. All you have to do is click on the icons there on the homepage. Our Twitter handle is HSFB America, and we are updating the Twitter account hourly as news from around the country comes in. We make sure we blast it out to you, so it's a great way to keep up with news during the off season. We do not take a day off. It's 365 days a year for us. And speaking of news, let's take a look at some of the news from the week that was. This one came out just after we signed off last week on High School Football America, and it's the one that concerns Brian Banks. I don't know if you've heard this story yet, but he has been exonerated. He was charged in a California rape case back around 2001, 2002, and a judge has overturned that, saying he was falsely accused. And now Brian Banks, who is 26 years old and 10 years basically away from his career at Long Beach Poly, which was then going to lead him to USC, is going to get a crack at the NFL. I've seen some workout videos of Brian, and he is in pretty darn good shape. He's gotten himself in shape after being released from prison, and now it was confirmed yesterday that the Seattle Seahawks will hold a tryout for Banks. He's that former star that's trying to catch lightning in a bottle, so to speak. And Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll didn't speak after the Seahawks had a workout on Wednesday, but then the team confirmed that Banks will work out for the Seahawks on June the 7th, and Banks released a statement saying, "This is what I've dreamed about my entire life. I'm ready to show the NFL what I'm capable of doing. I want as many opportunities with as many NFL teams who are willing to give me a shot," end of quote. Now, Seattle may not be the only team. ESPN.com reporting yesterday that several, maybe as much as a half a dozen teams have contacted Banks, and among them, according to ESPN.com, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Washington Redskins, and the Miami Dolphins. So, if he doesn't make it at the pro level, one of my questions that I had was, maybe he can just go back to college. He's got his college eligibility there, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Brian Banks, and we'll keep an eye on that story for you as it moves along. Now let's go to the District of Columbia. D.C. officials in the Washington Post announcing on Wednesday that they've gotten this idea that they've had for years, and they've got it very close to becoming reality, as high school football teams across the city, from the traditional public schools to the public charter schools and private schools, will vie for a true city championship. The format set to begin this fall will include a 4-team playoff of public charter schools, independent schools, and private schools, with the winner to meet the champion of the Turkey Bowl in D.C., and that will be held, that championship game they're looking at is possibly going to be held on December 1st. Go to our blog, the D.C. blog, and we'll give you some links via Twitter on that to check out the full story on what's going on in the District of Columbia. And the continuing saga of the Armwood football team in Florida is continuing. On Tuesday, Armwood was by the Florida High School Athletic Association, charged with responding to the report that said they had 5 residency violations last year within its football program. If they are found guilty, if the appeal is not upheld, then Armwood could be stripped of its state championship last year. Of course, they were nationally ranked in many of the polls as they finished 15-0. But they've got another week here. Basically, they were supposed to do it yesterday, but the State Athletic Association has given them a week. And basically, what they said was because there's graduation going on and ceremonies around that, the school was not able to kind of get as much investigation into into the situation, and it wasn't able to formulate its response. So they now have until June the 6th. Does Armwood to file the appeal with the FHSAA, and the FHSAA says, once they get the response from the school district, they will act within 10 business days to make a final ruling and impose sanctions. Again, the sanctions could be, the stripping of the state championship from last year, the 6A title, and they could also face some fines in conjunction with that. So that's a look at some of the news. We will have some big news coming up later on in the show. You may remember the case of Eric Dompierre, the Down syndrome young man in Michigan who, because he was held back a couple of years, was not going to be able to play a senior year of football and basketball because of a kind of an antiquated rule in the state of Michigan. And the Michigan High School Athletic Association has put Eric's eligibility to a vote. And it's actually for all young men that will fall into this category. And we'll have the results. They were just announced today, and we'll have those results a little bit later in the show. Also on the show tonight, we have 2 fun interviews. We'll start the show in just a few minutes, or start the interviews, I should say. The show's already underway. We are going to start with our first interview with Erin Dimeglio. And Erin Dimeglio is a young lady in the South Plantation School District in Florida who's had pretty good success in flag football, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago here. It's huge in the state of Florida. But Erin has been asked to come out for the boys team, and she just went through spring practice, and we're going to talk to Erin about what that was like and what her goals are for her upcoming senior season in the fall. Also on the show, and you got to stay tuned for this one, this is a real fun story that has many different angles to it. We're going to talk to Chris Tripucka. Now, if the last name Tripucka rings a bell to you, well, it's a pretty... I'll say it this way, the Mannings are the first family of football, but the Tripucka family may be the first family of sports. It all starts with Frank Tripucka, who back in the late 40s was a star quarterback at Notre Dame. He then went on to play with the Denver Broncos. He threw the first AFL touchdown pass. His number was retired, the number 18, and we'll tell you a little bit later how that ties into Peyton Manning, who's the new Broncos quarterback. But anyway, Frank Tripucka's son Chris is going to join us. He currently lives in Allen, Texas. Yes, Allen, Texas, the school district that's building that $60 million stadium. So Chris is going to join us to talk about Allen football, his son Shane, who's the number 1 ranked punter in the state of Texas, and also that very athletic family that had 2 pro athletes in it. There was Frank and also Kelly Tripucka of the Detroit Pistons, who did that via Notre Dame. So Chris Tripucka will join us, and you'll want to stay tuned for that. It's a fun interview, and Chris will share a wonderful story about how Peyton Manning asked his dad Frank if he could take the number 18 out of mothballs and wear it this year, and there's no surprise. Peyton's going to wear it, but the story of how he got to wear it is a real nice one, so stay tuned for that. I want to thank our sponsors for tonight's show, starting with Blitz Group. They blast out our media message each and every day, and you can learn more about this award-winning media strategist by going to the website blitzgroupllc.com. Also want to thank the High School Rudy Awards. Go to highschoolrudyawards.com. They've got a great program together, and looking forward to another year with the High School Football Rudy Awards. And also brought to you tonight by the National High School Coaches Association. You can become a member of the NHSCA by going to their website. It's real easy, nhsca.com. And we want to thank NCSA Athletic Recruiting. We have a special deal with them. If you're looking for a scholarship for your son or daughter, just go to the homepage of highschoolfootballamerica.com, click on the NCSA Athletic Recruiting banner, and you'll be able to get a free profile thanks to our partnership with them, and then you'll have one of the recruiting specialists call you and tell you how they can help you find a scholarship for your son or daughter. Going to take our first break. When we come back, we're heading to Florida, and we're going to talk with a young lady who has dreams of being a high school quarterback on the boys' team, not flag football that she's used to. That story when we come back. You're listening to High School Football America.
The Navy Seahawk helicopter has a lift capacity of over 6,000 pounds. But when it comes to helping those around the world who need it most, they lift the hopes of millions. To learn more about how the Navy is the best place to do great things, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. It will do you and the world a load of good. Navy. Accelerate your life.
Kicking things off tonight on High School Football America in the state of Florida, and a wonderful little story I read last week in the Sun Sentinel, and it's in regard to Erin Dimeglio. And Erin is a flag football player there, but she's also donning, they don't wear helmets in flag football. She's donning a helmet this year, and she just went through spring practice at South Plantation High School, and she's trying to become one of the guys. And Erin joins us right now to talk about going into spring football in Florida after trading in the flags for a helmet. Welcome to the show, Erin.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about how this all came about. From what the story in the Sun Sentinel was, you're a pretty good flag football player with great arm strength, but you went out there and you took part in spring practice. So how did the idea come into your head, and what got you out onto the field with the boys?
Well, my flag football coach is the same coach as the football team, and he asked me to come out there and practice with them for just to throw the ball around to them and stuff like that. And he gave me a helmet. And then the next day, pads, and then just kind of went from there,
So tell me a little bit about that progression for you. Again, saying that you have a good arm strength without pads is one thing, and then you put it on. So how did it go for you?
Well, I like to, I've always wanted to play football, so I wanted to try putting the pads on and stuff, but it's kind of a little difficult at first to throw the pads, and then I guess I got used to it, and it's a lot of fun.
Talking with Erin Dimeglio tonight on High School Football America. She is trying out for the South Plantation football team and just went through spring practice. So Erin, tell me a little bit about kind of the support. And in the article itself, I saw a lot of your teammates that were very, very, kind of cheering you on and all that. I think one of the guys said that you're definitely, in the running, and under different circumstances, you could be as high as a backup. So how did it make you feel when you read that in the article, and how were your teammates with you?
Yeah, they're really supportive. Like, they actually like having me out there. Like, they treat me like just a regular teammate, and like they actually help me, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I think actually I was looking right into the article. It was John Franklin who said, "You're probably good enough to be the backup job," and he said that's for real. So that's something good you gotta hear. So
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the hardest part of practice. I mean, what was the most difficult adjustment for you?
The most difficult part was probably throwing with pads, honestly, because I've never done it before. But other than that, it's not as hard as I thought it would be.
Okay. Now, I also, in the article itself, read that Dad said no hitting yet. So there was no hitting during practice?
No, not yet. Hopefully I can convince him to let me actually get hit so I can play in a game and stuff like that.
You said you've had a dream of playing football for a long time. Flag football is very different. So, how long have you had this dream? Where did it all start, and why did it start?
Well, when I was a kid, I played football with the boys in the neighborhood, tackle football, and in just the neighborhood, the parks and stuff. And I just always wanted to play, but it was kind of dangerous for a girl to play, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we actually on the show, I think it was the beginning of this year, there was a girl up in New York who, everybody's always, a kicker or a punter or something like that, but this girl was a cornerback and was second in the team in tackles, so it can be done. So let's talk about what you do between now and the fall, because I'm assuming at this point, now that you've committed to spring and the spring practice is over with, you're now getting ready for fall camp. Is that the goal, and what do you do between now and then to get yourself ready?
Well, during the summer, they're going to have workouts and stuff, and I'll participate with that. And then in the fall, I'll just practice like the regular whole team does.
Talking with Erin Dimeglio tonight on High School Football America, quarterback at South Plantation High School. So I asked you the question about Dad saying you can't be hit. So at some point that's going to happen. So kind of run through in your mind if you have a crystal ball, what's that going to be like when you finally get to go in there and mix it up?
Well, I actually am kind of excited to get hit. Like, it might hurt a little bit. I might be a little scared at first, but, I mean, I just want to. It looks like fun.
Well, and that's part of it. I mean, you got to be willing to take the hit and all that. Now, obviously, I said you play flag football, but you're, from what I read, a pretty good athlete on the basketball court, too. So tell me a little bit about your basketball and what some of your goals are with that.
Well, I play basketball for South. Obviously, I've been on varsity for 4 years, and I'm just hoping to get a scholarship to play in college. Working on that right now.
So now, as you've gone through, I don't know, are you still in school, or are you guys closed out for the year? Because my question kind of sort of revolves around your fellow females in the school. What we talked about the boys being very supportive. What about the girls? What was that like when they heard you were doing this?
They think it's pretty cool. They're like, wow. Like, they just think it's, like, really cool, I guess. Like, some of my friends actually want to play, too, but they don't. They're just too scared to. So, no one really has is opposing to it, so I don't know.
Erin Dimeglio is trying out for the South Plantation football team. She's a quarterback, and like I said earlier in the show, everybody thinks the girls are punters and kickers, but in this case, she's in there vying for a job on the offense. Tell me, a little bit about the process that has now become a spotlight on you. Obviously, the Sun Sentinel, picks it up, writes a story on you. I'm calling you. We're introducing a national audience to what you're doing. What about the spotlight on you, this media? How do you feel about that?
It's pretty exciting. I never had this kind of like spotlight before, but I mean, I just stay focused on everything, I guess.
And let's wrap up with the question of goals. Obviously, you're going to go into fall camp. What are the goals that you're going to set for yourself, or aren't they completely formed out yet?
Oh, I hope to be able to read a defense better, because I've never really had to learn how to read a defense for real football, and I hope to learn like the plays more and just actually get in a game and throw a pass in the game.
And that leads to a good question here. I had the head coach of Seminole Ridge, the Florida girls flag football champion from this year, on the show recently, and we were talking about the evolution of flag football in Florida. What's the biggest difference between the two, aside from the fact that there's a helmet and pads?
The biggest difference would be like one, experience of the players, because obviously the boys have been playing longer and they're just faster and everything. And the reading the defenses, there's more players in the field, so it's more crowded. And there's an offensive line, look over the offensive line, learn the schemes of running the ball, and all like that.
And then the last question, let's say you hit all those goals, you learn how to read those defenses, you get more reps and you get better, and sometime down the line in the fall you actually get to step out on the field in a regular game. Can you even imagine what that's going to be like, and take the listeners through what would be in your mind if you had that opportunity?
That would just be so exciting. Like, I've always wanted to play in the Friday Night Lights, So I just probably would have butterflies on my stomach, goosebumps, but it would be a dream.
Well, we hope you get your Friday Night Lights dream, Erin, and really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show here, and best of luck in the fall.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is Erin Dimeglio. She is the quarterback or trying out for quarterback at South Plantation High School in Florida. And we're going to be following her throughout the season and see if she's able to reach her goal and get out onto a regular season field and get that dream of Friday Night Lights. Going to take a break. When we come back, we're heading to the state of Texas. Going to talk about that school down there that's building a $60 million stadium. Going to Allen, Texas when we come back. This is High School Football America.
You've heard of being named All-Conference, but only one organization has earned the classification of being All-World: the United States Navy. Whether it's humanitarian efforts, fighting terrorism, or protecting America's freedoms, the Navy is the team that helps us all win big. To learn how you could make it to the big league, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
Next stop on High School Football America, the state of Texas, and we're going to talk a little Allen Eagle football here. And if you don't know who the Allen Eagles are, maybe I just have to tell you about the $60 million stadium you probably read about that they're building outside of Dallas, Texas, and a guy that has his business about a stone's throw from the new stadium. Chris Tripucka, his son's also a punter and a tight end wide receiver on the team, joins me now to talk about it. He's also from a pretty popular family, and we'll talk about that as well. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And let's kind of start with the famous family. For those who haven't heard the last name Tripucka, and I don't know if there's anybody out there, it all starts with your dad, who was a top-flight quarterback at Notre Dame and then went on to the Broncos, had his number retired. We'll talk a little bit about how it fits into Peyton Manning. You've had some pretty good basketball player brothers. You played football at Boston College. So let's start with the DNA. What's in the Tripucka DNA that spells athlete?
Well, I tell you, I don't know. It has to all come from Dad, because Mom wasn't much of an athlete, but she was our number one supporter. We've always we grew up in a house that had a big yard next to us. We grew up in a town that was a big sports town in New Jersey, in Bloomfield, New Jersey, and Dad had one rule for all the kids: when you came home from school, I don't care what you do, but you're not going to sit in the house and watch TV. So. Us and all the kids in the neighborhood would get together and play sports in our side yard, and he put up a basket for us in the backyard, and there was some great neighborhood games there. I wish I had films of those, but it's once one brother started in Tracy, then it went to Mark, and then to Todd, and then once it got down to us younger ones, and I'm the youngest of 7. You pretty much had to play.
And Tracy has a twin, and it's your sister, and I think you've told me that she's probably the best out of the whole lot. Is that true?
She probably is. She's about 6'1", and she, as I said, she's a twin with Tracy, and she was a captain of the cheerleaders in high school. And unfortunately for her, back when she went to high school, they didn't have a lot of women's sports like they do today, and she easily would have had a scholarship somewhere to play basketball or some other sport, probably volleyball, with how big she is. But she holds the family record, I believe, for most points in a basketball game, even though it was intramural games. So the family genes certainly didn't skip her.
And we're going to talk about your son and your nephew here in a second, but let's talk a little Allen Eagle football, and let's start with the stadium that has been in the New York Times and written just about everywhere. We're going to put some pictures up on the blog here of how beautiful it is. But tell us a little bit from your perspective. You're not that far away from it. Tell us a little bit about that stadium, what it looks like right now.
It's beautiful. It's almost complete. They're scheduled to be done in sometime in July. Our first game is August 31st against our rival South Lake Carroll. So that'll be a big game. 18,000 people plus will be at that one. We have 18,000 seats. I'm sure they'll be standing room only. But it's been amazing. As I say, our business is about 100 yards from where the stadium starts, right outside our back door. So we've seen it go from the bulldozer stage to what it is right now. With the press box just got completed, the field just was put in, and it's a gorgeous stadium. Not only for the football team, it will be used for other sports. We have a nationally ranked wrestling program also here, and they'll have facilities underneath the stadium to practice in, as well as our golf team and a few other sports. So it's something that was needed here, believe it or not. We have an old stadium down the street that was built back in the 70s when it was a very small school, and we're now up to a school of over 5,000 kids. So really ran out of room in that stadium. We had to put in, or the town had to put in, the school had to put in over 7,000 temporary seats every year to bring the capacity up to 14,000, and it still wasn't enough. And most of the seats are in corners you couldn't see. So, and there's no parking and so forth. So it was something that was needed. The town realized it, and the town is very supportive of our high school and had a bond election, not only for the stadium, but for an auditorium for the school, as well as a bus depot for the school buses, and it passed overwhelmingly. And that's the kind of support we have here for our high school and for our kids.
That's incredible, and it seems like you schedule cupcakes at the beginning there, the defending state champs. It's kind of a bitter rivalry here. The kids don't even want to say the word South Lake, and but it's a respectful rivalry, and they certainly have the tradition and state championships, and we're getting to that point. We're a program that won our first state championship back in '08, and we've been in the mix every year. And last year we were ranked number one in the country for several weeks and had one of the best teams I've seen in the 12 years I've lived here. So, it's getting to the point where, we're very close to South Lake, and hopefully get the tradition that they have, because they've done a great job over there. Yeah, they have. We're talking with Chris Tripucka. His son Shane is a punter on the team, a top-ranked punter in the country. We're going to talk about that in just a few seconds. But let's kind of set the scene for the listeners, because as you've mentioned, Allen has been at the top of those national rankings over the last 5 years or so. What's a typical Friday night like? As you said, you had to bring in seats, so obviously there's a lot of people. But can you kind of thumbnail sketch it for everybody? What is it like to be in Allen?
Yeah, it's it's certainly it's a big deal here. I mean, we're not like Friday Night Lights in that we're a small town, because we're certainly not. We're a population of about 85,000 people, but Friday nights do revolve around football here. The difficult part we had with the old stadium was there's a lot of people that wanted to go to games but couldn't go to games because the parking's too difficult or there weren't seats. And we actually travel probably better on the road than we do at home. We bring more people there because we go to some other stadiums that are bigger than ours, and the people know they can get seats a lot easier. So it's an exciting time. We have a store in town, as I said, that we sell screen printed and embroidered Allen Eagle spirit wear, and Friday is a big day for us. I mean, it's just constantly people in and out, lines out the door as you get closer to game time. And then once the game starts, it's almost like the town shuts down and everybody's down at the game. Just like probably any other place in Texas. Growing up in New Jersey and, knowing how big football is there, I didn't realize how big it can be until we moved here to Texas and to Allen.
Yeah, I've shared that with the listeners. My biggest thrill now, I've shut up bragging about Pennsylvania as much as I did. You guys got us beat after seeing the championships. Let's change the focus to being a proud papa here of your son Shane. As we mentioned at the top, he's a member of the Allen Eagles and is getting some real great publicity. Chris Saylor is kicking school. He's gone to that into Vegas, and he's come out pretty well. He's ranked nationally right now. So tell me a little bit about your son and the evolution and what it takes to be a dad and getting him recruited these days.
Well, it's it is difficult when you have a kid that plays in a program this big. He was a three-sport athlete. He played baseball, played basketball, was very good at both, but at some point when you're in a program as big as this, you have to choose what you're going to do. And it was clear to us that football was his passion. He's also a tight end and a wide receiver on the team, and as well as a kicker. And but the punting is what he's very good at and what he's been recruited for. As you said, with the Chris Saylor kicking group, I can't say enough about that organization. I can't believe there'd be a better kicking organization in the country. All the college coaches know about Chris Saylor, and if you've gone to one of their camps, you'd see how professional they run things and the class of the kickers that they have. Shane was lucky enough to go to one of Saylor's national camps and got ranked back in January, and has since been to 2 or 3 and has moved up to the highest ranked kicker in Texas right now, and is getting ready to go to their event elite camp in Los Angeles in late June. He also has a great kicking coach, a personal kicking coach in Rocky Willingham, which a lot of college coaches know about also. That is in Garland, Texas, which is a couple of towns over from us. So he's got the tools to go there and be taught, and has done a great job and works real hard. He's a big kid. He's 6'3", 210, good athlete. He's a real good kid.
Now, Chris, let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process. You played at Boston College, and as we said at the top, from a family that's really kind of spent its life being recruited. Tell me about the changes, the biggest differences since you were back at BC and they wanted your wares.
Well, I'll tell you, I was lucky enough not only to be recruited out of high school for football and basketball, but also following Kelly, I got a real good view of what the recruiting process is like, although I wasn't recruited anywhere near as heavily as Kelly. Back then, the visits were practically unlimited. I mean, the doorbell would ring. I remember one night the doorbell rang and Lefty Drizel and Digger Phelps were standing at the door, and one of them had to go to the diner and come back later. I mean, it's just the way it was back then. But it's a lot different now, and I've actually been speaking to some of the coaches, and the rules that are. It's hard for me to keep up with the rules of what they can and can't do, but I've had coaches who wanted to speak with me and had to send me an email and ask me to call them because they're not allowed to call me at certain points, and it's just it's confusing to me. But the biggest thing I found that the difference between now and back when I was recruited is you're almost, as a parent, you have to become a PR agent. I mean, you have to work with the school, and we have a great recruiting coordinator in Coach Jeff Fleener, who really helps out the kids, does all of our highlight films that the college coaches can go on our website and take a look at. But we have to work with them and get the word out about Shane, and Chris Seller Group, as I said, does a great job with that also. So it's more of a thing where you have to get the word out, and what we found with Shane is if we can get the coaches to take a look at the film and take a look at his information, they've called us. So it's just a matter of getting it to them and then trying to follow up and make sure that they've seen it, because I'm sure a lot of it that goes out gets lost in the shuffle. And but once they've seen it, we've had some pretty good feedback. And in fact, I had a call from a coach last night about 10:30 in the evening who had looked at the package and called us right away and didn't want to wait till today. So that's the kind of thing, if we can get them to look at it. But it adds an extra job to me. I already have a job, and now I have a second one on top of it. So,
well, and it's a labor of love. I know you've shared with me. You love watching practice because it's right next door there. Tell me a little bit, since you played the game at the high level you did, and the athletic family. The football, in America, high school football has changed dramatically. Do you think it's for the better compared to the early '80s and '90s where we're coming from?
I do. My only concern I have is from what I've seen and having had two pro athletes in the family and all that played Division I basketball or football is I caution parents when the kids are younger, is that everybody, when they're around the 6th, 7th grade, everybody thinks their kid is going to get a scholarship to college and going to play pro ball because there's just so much emphasis and the TV games and so forth. But you got to be careful. You have to wait, let the kid run through the process and see what happens and see how good he really becomes before you jump into all that. But I think it's a great thing that the kids get the exposure, and especially at Allen High School. The one thing that I've seen here is having played a Division I program at Boston College. We were number 14 in the country my senior year when we finished our bowl game, winning the Cotton Bowl. And this program here at Allen High School does just about everything that we did at the college level. So the kids at Allen High School are prepared to go play, college ball right now. The way they run practices, the way they run the off season, the game atmosphere, the publicity that the team gets, the kids are ready to go. And I know Shane is, he's had that kind of exposure. He's been on national TV. He's fronted on national TV. He's done interviews. So, a lot of those things and the work ethic that's instilled in them, those kids are ready to go to college right out of Allen High School and play football.
And I think that is a positive thing. I agree with you on that. We're talking with Chris Tripucka tonight. His son Shane is number one punter in the state of Texas and going through the recruiting process now. Let's switch back to the family a little bit. Again, your dad, Frank, the quarterback at Notre Dame, led him to a great season in 48, I think number 2 in the country at that point in time, and then went on to the Broncos. And you've shared with me, and I'd like you to share it with the listeners, a little bit about what happened a couple of months ago when Peyton Manning, who I guess the Mannings are the first family of football, but the Tripuckas may be the first family of sports. We'll break it up that way. But Peyton makes a call and needs to have Dad's number 18 taken out of mothballs and dropped down and put on his back. And you said it was a pretty cool way that Peyton did that with your dad. So if you could share that,
it was. Great. Yeah, it was. It was a very interesting 2 weeks, and I felt great for my dad that that people didn't know about him. The people that didn't know about him got to know about him. and what he did in his career, being the first Bronco quarterback, throwing the first touchdown pass ever in the AFL. What happened is we had seen the rumors about where Peyton may end up, and Denver was one of the places, and we started reading articles about, boy, if Peyton wants to wear 18, it's Frank Tripucka's retired number in the Ring of Fame, and what's he going to do? And we just kind of looked at it and said, well, it's not a big deal to us. We know Dad. We know how much, Dad likes Peyton Manning and the kind of player he is. So I'm sure Frank would have no problem with it whatsoever. And suddenly he ended up signing there, and my brother TK back in New Jersey got a call because he has the only listed number in the state of New Jersey for Tripucka's for some reason. But he got a call from the Broncos PR department and said Peyton would like to talk to you about the possibility of wearing number 18 and if you could get a hold of your dad. So, he called my brother TK. He was sitting in his living room. His caller ID came up on the TV. It said Peyton Manning, which must have been a very interesting sight. But he answered the call, and Peyton had said, "Listen, I wasn't going to wear number 18, but I had read some things that your dad would be okay with it, and I'd like to talk to him." And my dad's having some health problems, so TK explained to him, "Hey, listen, I've spoken to him, and he would be honored if you'd wear it." But Peyton wouldn't take that answer. He's that kind of guy. He wanted to personally speak to my dad, and he said, even if it's for 2 minutes, if I could just talk to him and ask him. And I just thought that was the most classy thing I've ever seen. And so sure enough, the next day they set up the call, and my dad, my mom, and TK, and Dad spoke to Peyton for about 10 minutes, and he couldn't have been more gracious. And my dad told him it was an honor, and absolutely go ahead and wear it, and go Broncos, and so forth. So he was excited, and the funny part of the story is when my mom got on the phone, she was so impressed with Peyton Manning, she got on the phone and said, Peyton, I just want to say I want to meet your parents because I think they raised the nicest young man I've ever seen, and got off the phone with her. So that's typical of my mom. But so, from there he went right into his press conference, and he spent a good 5 minutes thanking my dad before he started his press conference with the Broncos. So everything that the Manning family has done and what Peyton has done has been first class. He kept saying, "Can I do something for you guys?" And we kept saying, "No, just wear the number. It's not a big deal." And then he ended up by saying, "Why don't I invite you guys all out to a game next year?" So we said, "You know what? That's great. Let's do that." So hopefully we'll be able to work that out next year and get to meet Peyton and his family. But just first class all the way.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting Archie at the Maxwell Football Club in Atlantic City earlier this year. My girlfriend Trish said the same thing when she met Archie. She said, "You know what? Your kids are pretty special, but you guys did a great job of raising them." So it's good to hear those stories. Let's wrap up with the question of the family gets all together. I know you're down in Texas, and what do the Tripuckas play as a family now? Do they do pickup basketball? Do they do touch football? What is it? And how tough are those games yet?
Well, I'll tell you, nowadays I think golf is about as competitive as we're going to get out on out in the sports field, because we're all getting very old, and I'm the youngest one, and I feel older than all of them. So, but when we were kids, there were some real interesting competitive games out in our backyard. Dad would have to pretty much break up fights between TK and Kelly, or Tracy and Mark, or whoever. He'd come out with a broomstick, and I remember one day him crashing it over Kelly one day and broke it in half, and we all just started cracking up. It was so funny. But nowadays it's the competition is pretty much the golf course, and that's about it. And we're all probably going to be together at the end of the summer for a nephew's wedding back in New York. So we're looking forward to that. But age sets in, and those days of basketball and football are probably gone. Although I'll tell you what, Tracy can go out right now and shoot hoops from any spot on the court and swish every single one. He's just an unbelievable shooter, and you saw him play as a college forward at Lafayette College, and he just really has just that pure shot.
Yeah, no, Tracy, and watched Todd as well at Lafayette, and those that goes back to my days when I became a journalist, and it was always fun watching your brothers play, and it's been fun getting to know you over the last week or so, and we wish you nothing but success as you go down that recruiting trail, arm in arm with your son, Shane, and we hope it all works out, and best of luck to the Eagles this year. And I guarantee you, on my drive to Southern California, I'm making a left-hand turn there somewhere to check out that stadium.
Oh, absolutely, and we would love to have you. We'll take you on a tour of it, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to tell a story about the stadium, about Shane. Let all those coaches out in the East Coast and up in the Northeast where we're all from. Let them know he's a big believer in football up there also. So we'd like to hear some from people up there too. We've sent stuff to Penn State, to Rutgers, to Boston College, North Carolina, Wake Forest, everybody. So he's open to anything, and I appreciate the time you've given me.
Sure, and Dad, I think you may have an agent in your future to what you're going through. You're becoming a pretty good pitch man. Well, like I said, best of luck, and it's been fun talking to you. So we'll catch up and watch Shane's progress through the season. Best of luck this year.
Jeff, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Going to take a break, folks. When we come back, we have the happy ending to the story of the young man with Down syndrome in Michigan who has just gotten a thumbs up to play his senior year. They had to change the Constitution to do it, but the Eric Dompierre story. When we come back, this is High School Football America.
You've heard of being named All-Conference, but only one organization has earned the classification of being All-World: the United States Navy. Whether it's humanitarian efforts, fighting terrorism, or protecting America's freedoms, the Navy is the team that helps us all win big. To learn how you can make it to the big league, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
If you want to become a member of the High School Football America family and have all the news delivered to you 24/7, all you have to do is join the family by going to the homepage and following us on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. The icons are there for you at highschoolfootballamerica.com. Just click on and you're part of the family. The Twitter handle is HSFB America, and you can keep up to date with everything you need to know when we are not on the air. We also want to remind everyone that the website is under construction, as they say. We are redesigning it in time for the 2012 high school football season, so right around the end of July it will be back up and functioning and have all those things that you need. It will also coincide with a big launch that we're going to have in Southern California, and that information, that big announcement, will be coming your way in just a couple of weeks. And speaking of the start of the high school football season, there is a book that will be coming out on September the 4th that will be out just in time for the season. Get everybody excited. Drew Jubera, a former writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, has written a book on Valdosta's football program, the Valdosta Wildcats, the winningest high school football program in America. And Jubera took time out during the 2010 season to kind of embed himself into Titletown, USA. It's had some hard times down there, economically, and even the program has kind of hit some skids, and Jubera has written a book. It is called, it's a long one, Must Win, A Season of Survival for a Town and Its Team. So that will be coming out September the 4th. You can already pre-order it on Amazon, and we hope to have Drew Jubera on the show in one of the upcoming episodes to talk about the book. But that should be a good one. Valdosta, Georgia, that's one of those towns that just shuts down and fills up its 11,000-seat football stadium on a Friday night. Now we want to revisit a story that we had Dean Dompierre, the father of Eric Dompierre from Ishpeming High School in Michigan, on the show back on May 10th. And if you were not with us for that interview, the interview surrounded Dean's drive to get one more year of high school football and basketball for his son Eric, who has Down syndrome. And what was unusual about the situation was the fact that the Michigan High School Athletic Association was going to have to change its constitution and its language in the handbook that would allow Eric to play. Eric, you see, was held back a couple of years because of his condition, and that meant that he was going to turn 19 before September the 1st, and that also meant that he would not be able to participate during his senior year of high school. Well, the membership of the Michigan High School Athletic Association took a vote on changing the Constitution, and out of the 1,535 members, 701 of them did participate in the vote, and 94% approved the change, and that's great news. So Eric Dompierre will have a chance to play football and basketball this year, and we thought with that good news, we thought we'd spend a couple of moments listening to a portion of that interview I did with Eric's dad back on May the 10th. It really was a 2-year battle for the Dampierre family, and it's got a happy ending. The only thing that kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit is the fact that only 94% approved the change. I can't believe 6% would actually vote against this, but such is the case. But again, good news for Eric Dampierre, and here's a portion of that interview that I did with Eric's father back on May the 10th.
Yeah, like you said, the rule states that if you're 19 by the time before September 1st, you can't compete that whole next year. And we agree wholeheartedly with the rule. I think you do need an age cutoff so that we don't have grown adults competing against kids and teams getting advantages by fielding older players. But for my son and for other kids like him, there was no real option for him to be able to play 4 years of high school sports. He was, like you said, he was held back twice in early elementary school. And so now he has no options out there to play his senior year. He ages out. So we realized that probably, over 2 years ago when his high school coach stepped into the freshman practice and mentioned that he saw Eric as a 4-year player. So we did the math and we realized that this wasn't going to work for Eric the way it is now. So we approached the MHSAA leadership about what we needed to do in order to get Eric to play. And they were kind enough and polite enough to help us go through their steps for getting the rule changed. While I guess I wouldn't recommend this for anybody to have to do, spend this amount of time trying to battle to get something that you feel is yours, my wife Jill and I couldn't be prouder of the way Eric's handled all this. He's been asked a number of times to do interviews with the media. I've never made him do any of them. I've always thrown it out to him and given him the option, and he hasn't turned a single one of them down. And he's done a really nice job in all of those interviews. And if you, like you said, at the Senate hearing, again, he's, in none of these things has he been real comfortable, but I think he understands that. I know he understands that he has the power to help himself and to help other kids like him. So even though he's been uncomfortable, he's been willing to take that on in order to help himself. And I think he's got a sense of empowerment, and he feels like he's got some control over things that happen to him. So it's been a great learning experience for Eric, as well as me and my wife Jill.
So again, a happy ending to the story. All the hard work that Dean and Eric did over the last several years to try and get the Michigan High School Athletic Association to change its constitution has paid off. Again, 94% of the voting members approved the change to the Constitution and the language. So Eric Dampierre will be on the football season come 2012 in the fall, and I just think that is the greatest thing. And I'm applauding everyone that saw fit to kind of change the antiquated rule that was really basically 100 years old and out of date, especially when it comes to students with special needs. So congratulations to the state of Michigan for fixing what was a wrong situation. And again, we just wish Eric the best of times as he goes into his senior year of football. Going to take one last break here on the show tonight and come back with more after this. You're listening to High School Football America.
The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life.
Time winding down on High School Football America as we go under the 2-minute warning mark, and just want to let you know that, again, just because we're signing off here doesn't mean we forget about high school football for the week. We have Twitter and Facebook to keep everybody up to date, especially since the website, highschoolfootballamerica.com, is under construction and will be relaunched at the end of July. But to keep up with all the news from around the nation, from all 50 states and the District of Columbia, all you have to do is become part of the family by liking us on Facebook or for following us on Twitter. The easiest way to get connected and into the family is go to highschoolfootballamerica.com. The homepage still has the icons there. You can click on them and be part of either Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. I suggest all three. We always try and have something different on each and every one of those. So again, that's the best way to keep up with things in between shows. And if you missed any of tonight's show, a reminder, it will be in our archives later on tonight. And it's real simple. You can always listen to every show we've had on the air by going to artistfirst.com. About a third of the way down on the page, you see the archives there, and you just have to click on High School Football America, and you will have every show that we've ever done, and you can listen free and on demand. Spread the word to your friends. If you missed anything in the past, there's some really great interviews. It's kind of been a who's who of high school football in America over the past, I guess we're coming up on our 10-month mark here. Our first show was last year, July the 21st, so we're coming up on our one-year anniversary. And speaking of things coming up, we have a big announcement in a couple of weeks that will really affect Southern California. We're very, very excited about it. We've been kind of hinting about it a little bit on Twitter and that, but stay tuned for a very big announcement. If you're a high school football fan in Southern California, we're going to have something very, very special for you coming up in the 2012 season. We want to thank all of our guests on tonight's show, starting with Erin Dimeglio. We wish her the best of luck as she tries to become a quarterback on the South Plantation high school football team. She's been playing flag football there at the high school, and the coach, who also coaches the boys, said, hey, why don't you come out? You got a strong arm. So best of luck to Erin as she gets ready for her senior season and see if she can make an impact on the boys' game there. We also want to thank Chris Tripucka. I mean, that was a lot of fun for me. I grew up watching Chris's brothers, Tracy and Todd, play at Lafayette College back in the late 60s, early 70s, and boy, were they two good basketball players. Lafayette at that point was one of those programs, I guess they would be considered a mid-major nowadays, but I remember watching them beat Virginia in the NIT, back when the NIT was really a special tournament back in the day, and Chris did just a wonderful job of talking about his family, which starts with his father, Frank, who is a quarterback for the Denver Broncos, right through his son, who is currently a punter on the Allen Eagles, one of the top programs in the state of Texas. And we wish Chris and Shane all the best. Right now, Shane ranked number 1 as far as a punter in the state of Texas, and they're going through the recruiting process. So, again, if you missed either of these interviews, feel free to go to the archives page, artistfirst.com, and click on High School Football America. We also want to re-thank Dean Dompierre. We played a clip of his interview from May the 10th, but again, congratulations to Eric and to his father, Dean. Michigan has changed its constitution, so Eric Dompierre, who has Down syndrome, will be able to play his senior year of football in basketball at Ishpeming High School in Michigan. So congratulations to all the schools in Michigan that decided it was better to give Eric one last year, despite the age rules and the antiquated rule that was there. So congratulations to do that. We also want to thank all of our sponsors on tonight's show: Blitz Group at blitzgroupllc.com, the High School Rudy Awards at highschoolrudyawards.com, the National High School Coaches Association at nhsca.com, and we especially want to thank and recommend to our listeners to go to NCSA Athletic Recruiting. We have a special deal with them where you can get a free profile. All you have to do is go to highschoolfootballamerica.com. On the homepage, you will see the NCSA Athletic Recruiting banner there. Click on that. It will go to a special page that will allow you to get your free profile for your son or daughter. And they do a really great job of connecting qualified individuals with schools that are handing out scholarships and are looking for athletes and specifically student athletes. Want to thank Corey King back in Ohio for always keeping the show running smoothly. Easy for me to say, I guess, at this point. And I especially want to thank all the listeners that take time out of their schedule every Thursday night to listen to the show. Tell a friend. We're growing and getting bigger and bigger, and we always appreciate when you reach out to us. You can touch me personally by emailing me at jeff@highschoolfootballamerica.com. Now, this is Jeff Fisher saying good night and good sports from Chicago. You've been listening to High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.